Total Nonstop Action Wrestling has held a variety of professional wrestling tournaments competed for by wrestlers that are a part of their roster. Sporadic tournaments TNA Hard 10 Tournament The TNA Hard 10 tournament was a hardcore tournament for a trophy that would proclaim the winner the most hardcore wrestler in TNA. It featured 8 wrestlers competing in matches where a point-scoring system was used to determine the winner. The system was that 1 point was awarded for a direct hit with an object and 5 points for putting your opponent through a table, with 10 points needed to win. The only tournament was held in 2003, which was won by the Sandman. The tournament was promptly abandoned by TNA in light of fans complaining about the point system. TNA Anarchy Alliance Tag Team Tournament The TNA Anarchy Alliance Tag Team Tournament was a tag team tournament held in 2003 to determine the number 1 contenders for the NWA World Tag Team Championship, which was won by America's Most Wanted. NWA World Heavyweight Championship Number 1 Contender Tournament The NWA World Heavyweight Championship Number 1 Contender Tournament was a 4-man tournament held in October 2004 in order to crown new number 1 contender for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship, which was won by Jeff Hardy. NWA World Tag Team Championship Tournament The NWA World Tag Team Championship Tournament was a tag team tournament held in 2004 in order to crown new NWA World Tag Team Champions, which was won by Kid Cash and Dallas. X Division Cup Tournaments The TNA X Cup tournaments are X Division tournaments that feature various wrestlers and/or teams from around the world. So far, there have been 2 Super X Cup tournaments, 1 America's X Cup tournament, and 3 World X Cup tournaments. Chris Candido Memorial Tag Team Tournament Fight for the Right Tournament The Fight for the Right tournament was a tournament to determine the number 1 contender for the NWA World Heavyweight Championship and later for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. Paparazzi Championship Series The Paparazzi Championship Series was a tournament that began at Turning Point 2006 and involved 5 X Division competitors competing in a variety of matches where points are awarded for victories. These matches included Limbo, Texas Hold'em, musical chairs, and a push-up contest, among others. The tournament was created to give the wrestlers airtime while also continuing the Paparazzi Productions storyline surrounding Austin Starr, Alex Shelley and Kevin Nash. Throughout the competitions, Nash kept bringing up Bob Backlund, which led up to Backlund being a guest judge at Final Resolution 2007 during the finals of the competition. Shelley defeated Starr in the finals to win a bowling trophy presented by Nash at Final Resolution 2007. The other 3 participants in the tournament were Sanjay Dutt, Jay Lethal and Senshi. Nash viciously needled the other 3 throughout the challenge, but kept the actual competition fair and even, always inviting the losers of each contest to feel free to kiss the winner. Deuces Wild Tag Team Tournament The Deuces Wild Tag Team Tournament was a professional wrestling single-elimination tournament held by the Total Nonstop Action Wrestling promotion during the months of April and May 2008 for the vacant TNA World Tag Team Championship. It took place on TNA's television program TNA Impact and at their Sacrifice PPV event on May 11, 2008. It was announced on the April 24, 2008 episode of Impact by Management Director Jim Cornette. It involved 12 teams overall. Background: on the April 17, 2008 episode Impact, then champions AJ Styles and Tomko defended the title in a 3-way match against the teams of Kaz and Eric Young and the Latin American Exchange. Young left during the encounter, but later returned as his Super Eric superhero character to pin Styles and win the championship for his team. Due to this finish, Styles and Tomko were scripted to argue that Young and Super Eric were 2 different people. Super Eric and Young refused to admit they were one and the same in the storyline, which caused Cornette to strip Kaz and Young of the championship. Cornette then set up the Deuces Wild Tag Team Tournament on the April 24, 2008 episode of Impact. announcing 2 stages, with the first involving 8 teams competing in qualifying matches to gain entry into the tournament. The second stage of the tournament involved 8 wrestlers known as the Egotistical 8, chosen by Cornette. The Egotistical 8 made up 4 randomly chosen teams that would compete against the 4 teams which qualified at Sacrifice for the vacant TNA World Tag Team Championship. Qualification matches and Egotistical 8. The Egotistical 8 were announced on the May 1, 2008 episode of Impact as Awesome Kong, B.G. James, Booker T, Kip James, Matt Morgan, James Storm, Robert Roode, and Sting. The first 2 qualification matches took place on the April 24, 2008 episode of Impact. Team 3D defeat the team of Black Rain and Relic in the first, while in the second the pairing of Christian Cage and Rhino defeated the Motor City Machine Guns to advance. The final 2 took place on the May 1, 2008 episode of Impact. In the first, Lax defeated the team of Kaz and Young. The team of AJ Styles and Super Eric defeated the Rock and Raving faction in the second to qualify for the tournament. 2 Egotistical 8 teams were determined by lottery drawing on the May 8, 2008 episode of Impact. Sting drew Storm's name in the drawing, connecting the 2 together for the tournament. Meanwhile, Morgan drew Kip's name, joining the 2 as a team. Later in the episode, Sting and Storm fought in no disqualification match, which Sting won. Kip and Morgan also fought in an encounter, with Morgan coming out the victor. Sacrifice. Booker T teaming with Roode and Kong teaming with BG were the final 2 teams for the tournament, determined at Sacrifice. The first quarter-final match pitted Team 3D against the team of Sting and Storm. Team 3D were the victors after Sting turned on Storm by forcing him through a table. The second quarter-final match was between the team of Booker T and Roode and the team of Cage and Rhino, which the latter won after Rhino tackled Roode. Lax defeated the team of Kip and Morgan in the third quarter-final match after Morgan accidentally hit Kip with a bicycle kick. BG and Kong fought the team of Styles and Super Eric in the fourth and final quarter-final match. During the bout, Styles accidentally tripped while attempting to jumping off the ropes, causing him to fall face first to the mat below. Afterwards, BG lifted up Styles to perform a suplex, which Styles countered into a small package pin for the win. Team 3D, the team of Cage and Rhino, Lax, and the team of Styles and Super Eric all advanced to the semi-finals. Team 3D were pitted against the team of Cage and Rhino in the first bout, while Lax were pitted against the team of Styles and Super Eric in the second. Team 3D defeated Cage and Rhino after Ray bashed Rhino with a kendo stick. Lax advanced to the finals after their manager Hector Guerrero reversed a small package pin attempt by Styles on Homicide into Lax's favor while the referee was distracted by Salinas. Lax went on to defeat Team 3D in the finals to win the vacant TNA World Tag Team Championship when Homicide pinned Devon following a splash from the top of a padded turnbuckle. Aftermath. After Sacrifice, Lax defended the TNA World Tag Team Championship against Team 3D in a rematch at TNA's Slammiversary PPV event on June 8. The match was set up on the May 15, 2008 episode of Impact. When Team 3D attacked Guerrero, blaming him for their loss at the event. At Slammiversary, Lax defeated Team 3D to retain the championship. Tournament bracket TNA X Division Championship Tournament The tournament was the result of a match for the TNA X Division Championship at Final Resolution between Eric Young and Sheikh Abdul-Bashir, ending in a controversial fashion, with Young winning the championship thanks to the referee's help. Management director Jim Cornette stripped Young of the belt and announced the tournament to crown the new champion. Team 3D Invitational Tag Team Tournament To reinvigorate the tag team division, Team 3D announced on the April 23, 2009 episode of Impact that they would be hosting a tag team tournament. The winning team would receive a trophy, a check for $100,000 and a match for the TNA World Tag Team Championship. The tournament started that same night and matches would be held over the next few weeks, and TNA announced that the finals would be held at the Sacrifice PPV. Teams: Beer Money, Incorporated. Lethal Consequences, No Limit, Eric Young and Jethro Holliday, the Motor City Machine Guns, Suicide and Amazing Red, the Latin American Exchange, the British Invasion. Before the match, the British Invasion attacked Hernandez backstage, causing Homicide having to compete alone. TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championship Tournament TNA announced a Knockouts Tag Team Tournament for the new TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championship on the August 20, 2009 episode of TNA Impact. Round 1 matches started on the August 27, 2009 episode of TNA Impact. Teams: Resha Saeed and Awesome Kong, the main event Mafia, Taylor Wilde and Sarita, Daphne and Alyssa Flash, The Beautiful People, Madison Rayne and Roxy, Hamada and Sojourner Bolt, Tara and Christy Hem. TNA Championship Series The TNA Championship Series took place on the Thanksgiving Day edition of Impact. On November 26, 2009. The winner of the tournament would earn himself a shot at the championship of his own division. However, the winner of the tournament Bobby Lashley did not receive his title match. Participants: Abyss, Bobby Lashley, Desmond Wolfe, Suicide, Kurt Angle, D'Angelo Dinero, Homicide, Robert Roode. New Year's Knockout Eve Tournament The New Year's Knockout Eve Tournament took place on the December 31, 2009, edition of Impact. The winner of the tournament would earn herself a shot at the TNA Women's Knockout Championship on the Live 3-hour Monday night edition of Impact. On January 4, 2010. 8-card stud tournament The 8-card stud tournament took place on February 14, 2010, at the Against All Odds pay-per-view, and its winner would get to challenge the TNA World Heavyweight Champion in the main event of April's Lockdown pay-per-view. This was a no disqualification match. TNA Tag Team Championship Series on the June 17, 2010, edition of Impact. TNA vacated the TNA World Tag Team Championship and announced a 2-week-long tournament, with the winners facing the Motor City Machine Guns, who were the number 1 contenders prior to the titles being vacated, for the titles at Victory Road. Teams: The Band, Inc. Incorporated. Team 3D, Beer Money, Incorporated. TNA World Tag Team Championship number 1 Contenders Tournament on the August 4, 2010, edition of TNA Explosion. TNA announced a 2-week-long tournament to determine the number 1 contenders to the TNA World Tag Team Championship. Teams: Desmond Wolfe and Magnus, Generation Me, Hernandez and Rob Terry, Inc. Incorporated. TNA World Heavyweight Championship Tournament on the August 19, 2010, edition of TNA Impact. The TNA World Heavyweight Championship was vacated, after champion Rob Van Dam suffered a storyline injury. The title was put up in a tournament featuring the top 8 ranked wrestlers in the TNA Championship Committee rankings. The finals of the tournament would take place at Bound for Glory on October 10. Angle and Hardy wrestled another draw on the September 16 edition of Impact, which led to Eric Bischoff making the final match at Bound for Glory a 3-year way. TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championship Tournament on the December 9, 2010, edition of Impact. TNA vacated the TNA Knockouts Tag Team Championship, after one half of the previous champions, Hamada, had been released by the promotion, and set up a Fury team tournament to determine new champions. The finals of the tournament would take place on the December 23 edition of Impact. Teams: The Beautiful People, Daphne and Sarita, Madison Rayne and Tara, Mickie James and Miss Tess Matcher. Winter replaced Velvet Sky, who had been attacked backstage by Sarita. TNA X Division Championship number 1 Contender Tournament on the January 27, 2011, edition of Impact. TNA started a tournament to determine a new number 1 contender for the TNA X Division Championship, held by Kazarian. The tournament consisted of 3 3-year-away semi-final matches, taking place on the January 27, February 3 and February 10 editions of Impact. With the finals, another 3-year-away match, taking place at Against All Odds on February 13. The finals ended with a double countout, after Jeremy and Max Buck failed to make it to the event due to travel issues. Explosion Championship Challenge on the May 24, 2011, edition of TNA Explosion, Desmond Wolfe was announced as the new Explosion Commissioner. His first act as commissioner was setting up a tournament exclusive to Explosion where the winner would receive a title shot against any active champion in TNA. The finals of the tournament took place at the August 9 tapings of the August 24 edition of Explosion. X Division Showcase on the June 16, 2011, edition of Impact Wrestling, TNA started a 12-man tournament for a contract in the promotion's X Division. The finals of the tournament would take place on July 10 at Destination X. First round, Austin Aries defeated Jimmy Rave and Kid Cash. Zema Ion defeated Dakota Darso and Federico Palacios, Low-Ki defeated Jimmy Yang and Matt Bentley, Jack Evans defeated Jesse Sorensen and Tony Nese. Finals, Austin Aries defeated Jack Evans, Low-Ki and Zema Ion. Maximum Impact Tournament on November 23, 2011, TNA announced the start of the Maximum Impact Tournament, an 8-man tournament, which would take place on Explosion. The winner would receive a shot at the TNA World Heavyweight Championship during TNA's tour of the United Kingdom in January 2012. The finals of the tournament took place on December 13 at the tapings of the January 4, 2012, edition of Explosion. The winner, Samoa Joe, received his title shot on January 27 in Manchester, in a match taped for Explosion, but was defeated by the defending TNA World Heavyweight Champion, Bobby Roode. Wild Card Tournament on the December 15, 2011, edition of Impact Wrestling, TNA started a tag team tournament to determine the number 1 contenders for the TNA World Tag Team Championship, held by the Team Crimson and Matt Morgan, at Genesis. The pairings were, in storyline, decided by a random draw. Teams, Abyss and Scott Steiner, AJ Styles and Kazarian, Anarquia and Shannon Moore, Christopher Daniels and Rob Van Dam, Douglas Williams and Robbie Eric Young and ODB, Hernandez and Rob Terry, Magnus and Samoa Joe. TNA X Division Championship Tournament on the June 28, 2012, episode of Impact Wrestling, TNA announced a tournament for the TNA X Division Championship, which would take place at Destination X, where Austin Aries would vacate the title for a shot at the TNA World Heavyweight Championship. The tournament was preceded by 4 qualifying matches featuring wrestlers from the independent circuit. TNA contracted wrestlers Douglas Williams, Kid Cash and Zema Ion were given automatic spots in the first round of the tournament. The 8th and final spot in the tournament would be filled by the winner of a 4-way between the losers of the qualifying matches. At Destination X, the 8 wrestlers will face each other in 4 singles matches, with the winners advancing to an Ultimate X match for the X Division Championship. TNA X Division Championship No. 1 Contender Tournament on the January 3, 2013, edition of Impact. TNA started a tournament to determine a new No. 1 contender for the TNA X Division Championship, held by Rob Van Dam. The tournament consisted of 2 singles semi-final matches, taking place on the January 3 and January 10 editions of Impact, with the finals taking place at Genesis on January 13. TNA Gut Check Tournament The TNA Gut Check Tournament was a 4-man tournament held from May 9 through June 2, 2013 in order to determine which TNA Gut Check competitor would compete in the Bound for Glory series. The finals of the tournament took place at Slammiversary 11. Sam Shaw advanced to the finals of the tournament after Silver was no longer able to compete. Joker's Wild Tag Team Tournament on the July 11, 2013 edition of Impact, a tournament was held where the 12 Bound for Glory series participants will be randomly paired up into 6 tag teams. There will then be 3 tag matches with the winning teams advancing to a 6-man gauntlet battle royal. When there are the final 2 competitors left in the ring, the match becomes a regular singles match with the winner earning 25 points in the Bound for Glory series. TNA X Division Championship Tournament on the Destination X edition of Impact. TNA started a tournament to determine a new TNA X Division champion, since the title was vacated after Chris Sabin traded it in for a shot at the World Championship. The tournament consisted of 3 3-Way semi-final matches, taking place on the July 18 edition of Impact. With the finals, another 3-Way match, taking place on July 25, 2013. TNA World Heavyweight Championship Tournament on October 29, 2013, TNA President Dixie Carter vacated the TNA World Heavyweight Championship after the previous champion AJ Styles left the company with the championship title. On the October 31 edition of Impact Wrestling, Carter announced an 8-man tournament to determine a new TNA World Heavyweight Champion, that would begin on November 7. 7 of the 8 men were former TNA World Heavyweight Champions including Jeff Hardy, Chris Sabin, Bobby Roode, James Storm, Kurt Angle, Austin Aries, and Samoa Joe. The 8th would be determined later in the night in a gauntlet match, which was eventually won by Magnus last eliminating Kazarian and Sting. Also later that night, Carter announced the Wheel of Dixie, in which she would spin a wheel full of different stipulation that the competitors would compete in. The stipulations on the Wheel of Dixie were a Falls Count Anywhere match, a bull rope match, a submission match, a ladder match, a Full Metal Mayhem match, a coal miner's glove match, a tables match, a Dixieland match, a tuxedo match, and last man standing match. The Storm Road match was originally a bull rope match, but Storm asked Carter to change it to a Florida Death match, which was not on the Wheel of Dixie, which Carter agreed to. Gunner threw the towel for Storm to avoid Roode putting Storm into a barbed wire board. 1. This was a Full Metal Mayhem match 11-13. 2. This was a Florida Death match. 3. This was a submission match 11-13. 4. This was a Falls Count Anywhere match. 5. This was a tables match 12-13. 6. This was a last man standing match 12-13. 7. This was a Dixieland match. Gold Rush Tournament on September 17, TNA Executive Director Kurt Angle announced a Gold Rush Tournament, which took place on September 24, where the winners of 5 qualifying matches would advance to the main event later that night. The winner of the main event would earn a championship match against any TNA champion, at any time. TNA World Tag Team Championship No. 1 Contender Tournament on the October 15, 2014, edition of Impact Wrestling, TNA started an 8-tag team tournament to determine the No. 1 contenders for the TNA World Tag Team Championship, held by the Wolves. Teams: Team Dixie Mr. Anderson and Chris Melendez, the BRO Mans, Low-Ki and Samoa Joe, Eric Young and Rockstar Spud, the Hardys, Samuel Shaw and Gunner, Kenny King and MVP. TNA World Title Series On October 7, 2015, it was announced that a tournament would take place, after TNA World Heavyweight Champion Matt Hardy vacated the title a day prior due to a legal injunction filed by former champion Ethan Carter III. The World Title Series places 32 wrestlers into 8 groups of 4, with the first round being under a round-robin format. Also, for the first time ever, the knockouts will have a chance to compete for the World Heavyweight title. Each winner in the round-robin matches is awarded 3 points, and a draw is worth 1 point for each, with each match having a 15-minute time limit. The 2 members of each group with the most points will advance to the final 16, where at that point the tournament switches to a single elimination format. Annual tournaments Bound for Glory Series The Bound for Glory Series are a tournament in which 12 wrestlers compete in a series of matches over several months to determine who receives a shot at the TNA World Heavyweight Championship at Bound for Glory. Feast or Fired The Feast or Fired match is a pole match featured in Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. In the match, all 4 ring posts have poles attached, and a briefcase hangs from each pole. The match features a large group of participants, who attempt to scale the turnbuckles and grab the cases. Each case contains a different item. Either a title shot or a pink slip. TNA Turkey Bowl The TNA Turkey Bowl was a tournament held in 2007 and 2008, aired on the Thanksgiving night episode of TNA Impact. The tournament consisted of 3 preliminary 3-way matches. Each match featured a member of the heavyweight division, the X division, and the tag team division, with the winner of the match going on to the finals. The winner of the finals, also a 3-way match, won $25,000. The wrestler who lost in the finals was forced to put on a turkey suit. The TNA Turkey Bowl returned with a different format in 2011, 2012 and 2013, which aired on the Thanksgiving night episode of Impact Wrestling. One Night Only TNA One Night Only is a periodic series of PPV events held around a particular theme. This section is for annual One Night Only events. Joker's Wild pair 2-man tag teams randomly, with the winning pair from each match reaching the final gauntlet, where they competed individually to become the Joker's Wild winner. Knockouts competed in singles matches, with the winners of the matches advancing to a battle royal, with the winner being crowned the Queen of the Knockouts. Teams of wrestlers from around the world compete in heavyweight, X division, tag team and knockouts division matches to crown the TNA World Cup of Wrestling champions. Joker's Wild, Queen of the Knockouts, World Cup of Wrestling. Notes